Aloha from Hawaii. This is Kauai Tibetan Buddhist Dharma Center. Thursday night class, 6 to 8, which we do every week. I'm Lama Tashi. We do this at mind training practices in the Tibetan tradition of shamanistic Lamaism. These are designed to bring compassion and insight, which is understanding your true nature of your mind and how to use it, together. Other than that, the simplicity of mind training is to remove judgment, a judgment call, which causes the program or the habit of emotional unstable factors of your mind to arise. And those two together, not understanding your true nature and how to use it, not having compassion, and then not understanding the true nature of mind and how to use it, is the cause of all pain and suffering. So we all want happiness, but because of this emotional conflict ongoing in our lives, mostly we find unhappiness or sadness even, pain and suffering. So what this class is for is to train the mind to be open, clear, and blissful. And those qualities bring what is called realization. Realization means to know your connection to the universe and the sentient beings in it, and how to connect to that in a way that benefits the sentient being. I was asked a question today if I could explain a little bit about sentient beings. So my root Lama, which 42 years ago I took refuge with Kala Rinpoche, who is now called Kala Yansi Rinpoche in his new form body, dictated this book on the Hinayana, Mahayana, and Vajrayana vehicles, and it's called Profound Buddhism. And he explains all of the natures of mind and how to use them, but he also explains how the outer world exists, and specifically how sentient beings exist in it. And it says, when we practice using these beneficial mind training practices, sutra, tantra, and the experience of bliss or clarity, it is benefiting limitless sentient beings. It causes what is called awakening. We use the term Buddhahood, but what it simply means is to realize your true nature and how to use it. Practicing for one's glorification and fame will be the only reward if we do not eliminate the idea of I, me, minds, or what we call egocentric fixation. We have to take into consideration the suffering of sentient beings and how this cycle of existence is composed of 6 classes of these sentient beings, each marked by a particular emotional defect which causes the suffering. So I'm going to explain this, first of all, to the 2 lower realms. These are the spirit world. They are called demonic beings or hell beings. They are spirits that undergo immense torment inflicted by unbearable cold, heat, and other forms of suffering. The next class of spirits are called hungry ghosts or pretas, or deprived spirits. They suffer not only from hunger and thirst, but they can never be satisfied on any level. Then in our world, we have two classes of beings, animals and spirits. Animals have limited intelligence and are driven by instinct to devour each other or constantly take from the plant or ocean world. Then us, human beings, undergo pains of birth, old age, sickness, and death. We say aging, sickness, and death, which are the cause of our conditioned existence. We also suffer emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And added to that, the universe having a program of constant change, we suffer from that. Everything changing all the time. And then there are two higher, what they call higher classes of spirits, which is compared to the lower class of spirits I already mentioned. These are called demigods and goddesses, or war gods and goddesses. They suffer from from jealousy, and which causes them constant fighting and quarreling, or conflict leading to war. And then the highest spiritual realm is the celestial realms of gods and goddesses. And at the end of a very long life of pleasure or experiences fixating on light or space, they suffer seeing themselves falling into inferior realms of existence, of which I just spoke of. So that's just a short excerpt of this book, Profound Buddhism, explaining the vehicles of the Hinayana, which means self-realization, Mahayana, which is taking all beings into your practice, or being the cause of your practice. Then the Tantric vehicle, or which evolves from the Mahayana vehicle, which is called Vajrayana. That's about using the actual nature of the mind and everything around you as a state of voidness, and blending that with the mind of the Lama, which is using the deities for mind training, both on the peaceful and wrathful levels of practice. When we get to the ultimate realization, it's way too simple. For me, I think it's an abandonment of what I call the I, me mindset. The affliction of subject-object dichotomy. In other words, thinking that the subject, which in this case is my physical body and mind, mental application, is separate from everything else in the universe. That to me is the main error in thinking. And then understanding that when we do these practices, to counteract that, we imagine all the beings of all these realms to be the purpose of the practice. And the more and more that thought, that idea takes place through practice, the less and less difficulties we have with our own situation, with this idea that everything is separate when in fact it's all interconnected. And this state of interconnectedness is to compensate for the separation caused by egocentric fixation on the I existing separate. So having explained that, we're going to take refuge, and then we're going to do tonight the relative practice of the 5 elements. That's what we call the ordinary level of practice. And then we're going to do the extraordinary practice of the Tara, which is the deity yoga transmission of the mind of the Lama. And that's to bring out the individual doing the practice, inner Lama. When we start with the Tibetan practice, we start with the altruistic motivation. So we're going to read this from our refuge sheet. Then we set up the support system by taking refuge, doing the refuge prayer. And then we bring the 6 disciplines of the Bodhisattva path as the method. And that evolves into the spiritual practices of the 100 deities and so forth. So we'll read the top prayer first. In order to attain enlightenment for ourselves and limitless sentient beings and others, we now altogether take refuge and offer prostration. We go for refuge to all the glorious Holy Lama. We go for refuge to all Yidams, who are the deities gathered in our knowledge. We go for refuge to all Buddhas, those who have conquered the mind and gone beyond. We go for refuge to all the supreme Dharma. We go for refuge to all the noble Sangha. And we go for refuge to all the Dakas and Dakinis, who are the protectors and defenders of the Dharma. All of these possessing the eye of transcending awareness. To the Buddha, Dharma, and this Supreme Assembly, we go for refuge until enlightenment. May I, to merit gain from practicing the 6 perfections, accomplish Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. Then we chant the first prayer in Sanskrit, which is not on this refuge sheet, so I'll do that. Then we'll say the refuge in Sanskrit and the Bodhisattva prayer in Sanskrit. First, the altruistic motivation to bring all beings to enlightenment. Dadam Jowa Nambe Dadam Yambe Senchen Danche Dudine Junte Jisi Jenchu Genko Dachi Kibardu. In the refuge, Ode Mama Dapa Nama Chachu Chiro Yedam Chakorgi Lato Dhamma Chachu Chiro Sanje Chondende Nama Chachu Chiro Dhambe Chur Nama Chachu Chiro Dhambe Gendu Nama Chachu Chiro Dhamma Kanjo Chotum Shone Shore Sheki Shendam Dhamma Nama Chachu Chiro Sanjay Chodam Choki Chodam Nama Jechu Bardu Dagi Chachu Chiro Dagi Jinso Chipen Sona Sona Venture Sanjay Yukam. So we have these 6 realms of sentient beings, which are the purpose of our practice. And we have this 6 aspects of refuge, which is our support for practice. And then we have the 6 bodhisattva disciplines for mind training, but also to benefit others and bring them to understand their true nature and how to use it. And then we have the method of the Sutra and Tantra, which is, if you bring me the 5-element sheet, there's one there. Which involves 5 Buddha families, or 5 spheres of wisdom. And these 5 spheres are innate in all of them. And when we use the word sphere, it means all-inclusive. If you apply the methodology of these 5 spheres, you're doing that to the benefit of an infinite number of animal spirits and humans which inhabit our universe. And we use this method, which the Buddha taught 2,600 years ago and transmitted in India. Then the yogis and yoginis, masters in India, took it to Tibet, and now it's worldwide, was simply an extension of what the universe already is. So the universe is naturally all-pervasive. And that all-pervasiveness is your true nature of your mind. Our minds are, first of all, the vehicle of all-pervasiveness. Why? Because we can think in unlimited capacity. But also we can direct our thinking in this unlimited capacity to unlimited, infinite sentient beings, which are all integrated into us. And that's the purpose of these 5 spheres. But what they ultimately are the antidote to emotional affliction. So what they did in India with the Buddhist teaching is they categorized all the different types of suffering, pain and suffering that come up under the heading of aversion. Then they took all of the unlimited kinds of emotional suffering that comes under the heading of attachment, which is, of course, the opposite of aversion. Then they went on to take all the forms of jealousy and envy, thousands of afflictions in our mind that arise, and put that into a category. Then they took all of the afflictions of arrogance or pride, which we know quite well in our Western world, and put that all in one category. And then they took the basic misunderstanding that it's okay to isolate yourself. It's okay to be independent. It is not. That is counterproductive to the idea of interconnected, which is the reality of our universe. There's nothing in this universe that creates itself. And there's no one in this universe that creates everything. It just doesn't do that. Everything is based on everything else. And that interconnectedness applied to infinite sentient beings with your ultimate nature of being able to think of anything or everything or nothing at all is how we practice to remove these afflictions. So I'll go through this again. First of all, I started with aversion, which, as you know, escalates into anger, hatred, and rage, Or if you didn't know that, you should. And the antidote for that is interconnectedness. Because you wouldn't want to do that if everybody's interconnected to you. They're helping you. They're your life support. They're your mother's life. Then you take the attachment one, and you really don't want to go into that because it escalates into desire, lust, and greed, and thousands of other afflictions. And so you need the antidote of discerning that your true nature of your mind applied to everything is nothing but light. This infinite space, boundless universe is completely composed of light and light being. Energy. And when you directly connect to that, actually a better word, intentionally connect to that, that's it. That's the antidote. But it's way too simple. And really, you don't have to understand everything. I mean, we have light all around us. We have computers, TVs, cell phones. We go outside at night, we got lights everywhere. We got the sun and the moon. So it's all pervasive. But that's the antidote. And you go to jealousy. Well, the antidote to jealousy for us is to be a bodhisattva. Which simply means to remove pain and suffering by installing auspicious circumstances for others, showing them how to use their own situation to overcome all pain and suffering. That's the path we follow. It's called bodhisattva. So jealousy, envy, coveting, feeling inferior, anxiety, depression, all that, this is the antidote. Then the pride and arrogance one, well, that's what we call the heavenly celestial realms, and all the sentient beings that practice religions, including Buddhism. Because when you say something is superior or higher or divine and supernatural, is the term we commonly come up with, you've created something that doesn't exist. It's the concept. And if you follow that thinking, then you become separate by thinking your way of thinking that way is better than everybody else's way. And real or not real, existing or not real, it needs an antidote. And the antidote is very, very simple. It's what we do in America and Canada. Equality. Men and women equal. All the races equal. All the levels of society equal. And that state of equality creates an emotional antidote to this idea of superiority or being higher than. And then finally we come to the ignorance one, which I already explained, is just the idea that everything is separate, but in fact, it's all integrated. And that is these 5 spheres. So we have 5 symbols for this. We actually have 5 Buddhist statues that we make with hand positions, and we color code them. And that's a way of getting it across culturally from one group of humans to another. And by the way, this is only for training humans. You can't do this to the spirits, no matter how high they think, great they think they are. This doesn't work for them. This is the human condition. What we do is we apply it to the same color code that I just spoke of these being antidotes which produce lasting happiness in a state of existence that's totally created by 5 elements. And these 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and space, are how we heal, how we do everything, how everything appears. The whole universe and everything in it is made of these 5 elements. Not one single thing can exist with one of these missing. Okay. If one of it's missing, you have a serious problem. So we use the same color code. Now, intellectually, we apply the outer world to what we call the Dakini energy, or the mother principle, the female energy of everything. And then when I say of everything, I'm talking about the totality of what appears. All the galaxies, all the black holes, all the planets, suns, moons, ocean, everything. And what is the 5 spheres of awareness is how you play with these 5 elements. Because that's what we call practice, play. And it shouldn't be like work. It should be fun. But at first, you kind of have a hard time overcoming the concepts that cause pain and suffering with the concepts that cause lasting happiness. But always remember, this is the mind of the teacher being transmitted to you and any other human that wants it. See? Because lamas, I'm a lama. It's a term for teacher. Like guru in India, it's a term because we have the Sanskrit. But this term simply means an individual is making themselves available to anybody that's interested how to gain lasting happiness. That's all. And we're not very pushy. Except maybe the Dalai Lama. He's kind of pushy because it kicked him out of Tibet. But that's only on a political level in his happening. Actually, he's just making himself available. He moves around the planet, invited everywhere to everybody. So he's got a lot of talent. He's his own reality show. And now, the practice. What do we have to practice with? We have a body. We talk, so we have speech. And we have a mind. We have a mental process. A very complicated mental process. And this new agey way of communicating, they want to make it very simple. Well, it isn't. I mean, I just explained to you the 5 states of emotional conflict and the body being made of 5 elements. Now you're getting into science. Now you're getting into the field of knowledge because we're all different. Yeah, we're all made of 5 elements. Yeah, we all have a body, speech, and mind. We all have a background of thousands and thousands of lives that got us to this point in this life. So we all evolved differently. And so with that idea, the training of the Lama is to be able to compensate for that immense difference from one being to the next. And you know I'm telling you the truth if you've ever gone into a relationship. I'm not talking about the relationship with mother and father. That's complicated enough. I'm talking about a relationship with a friend or a relative or a sexual relationship, having a lover, for instance, or a pet. See? Relationship. And you can see the complication as soon as you get into the relationship. Maybe you can't see it up front, because what appears might appear one way when in fact it's another way. And that idea is exactly what we call Tantra. Everything appears in a way that it is not. Everything. I mean, you look at the ocean and you call it water, right? But that same water is in the sky as clouds. Okay? That same water is what you are. That same water is the North and South Pole, ice. And if it gets really hot, it becomes steam. So this one thing is so common. Now they found some planet out there, they call it black water. This whole planet's made of weird stuff. They have no idea how it got that way, but they define it. This defining, labeling, is where the judgment call comes in. And what a judgment call does is distorts what you are experiencing. And it's even worse than that, because your judgment of good might be somebody you're in a relationship judgment of bad. What is the common denominator? What helps you through all this? Awareness. Now, animals aren't too cool in this world of awareness. They operate on what we call instinct. And they really can't change. I mean, the giraffe can't be a cockroach. Okay, so once you're one in that category, you've got to kind of stick with the program. But in the human condition, you have two kinds of awareness. You have the awareness of the relative, how you sense things and how you think about yourself and everything else. That's called relative awareness. We all have that. But humans have an innate state of intuitive awareness. And I have to say, in the world today, it's mostly on the female. But the guys, we can do that too. But this inner state of awareness is not found out here. All humans have it. Okay, they say all sentient beings have the relative awareness or awareness of some kind or another. But only humans have this function of innate, instinctually knowing things without having been told, without having read about it, without having heard about it. They just know. And that's where we're going with shamanism. That's how the tribes of the planet survived many thousands of years up until what we call this industrial age. Now we're not doing that. In fact, we're doing the opposite. We're dumbing down 8 billion people. We're inhibiting the relative awareness and totally blocking the intuitive awareness, the innate nature to respond in a state of clarity without subject-object dichotomy distorting what you're sensing and thinking about. That's it. So we start. We have to start someplace, so we're going to start with the breath. And I don't know how many watching this program or how many of you are involved in practices of martial arts or shamanistic practices of Taoism or Sufism or American Indianism or Hawaiianism or some culturalism, some other tribe on the planet has been carrying forward. But that is how this human race survived up till now. Now, because we're not doing that, we're facing extinction. That doesn't mean there isn't going to be more and more humans. I mean, I just saw it in the news, by 2050 we'll have over 10 billion. I don't know how that's possible with all the mess that's going on, but that's the prediction. Well, here we have 8 billion. Now, compassion arises the moment you interact with any group and most individuals, because they're hurting. They're harming themselves, they're harming the environment and the animal and other states of existence. And you don't have to look too far. Just news on your iPhone, news on the computer, news on the television, news in the newspaper. Unbelievable. That's not loving kindness. That's not what Mother means. So when we start with the breath, we're starting with the mother principle of survival, because you don't know what comes first, your next breath or your next life. And nobody does. I mean, you can come close to figuring it out by having good health, doing everything, eating properly, and having good thoughts and so forth. But this one thought is the key to doing practice, to inspiring yourself to do your practice. So since we don't know that, we start with the breath. And we apply the code with 3 colors, white, red, and blue, of what the breath is doing. And then everything from that point out on in Tibetan Buddhism, shamanistic Lamaism, whatever you want to call this tradition, because it's not a religion, is about healing. And the word Buddha means ultimately heal, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, together. So let's do that. Now it's very helpful to sit on a cushion or in the chair to start with. But remember, you have to do this under any circumstances. It's good to have your back straight, your head slightly tilted forward. Hands in a comfortable position, either on your knees or in your lap. Mouth closed to start with. Breathing through the nose is more appropriate, more healthy. And your eyes relax. We say slightly closed, not completely closed. And your gaze to the space energy of voidness directly in front of your eye. Everything is satisfactory right here. There's no distraction. Now bring your awareness to your breath. Focusing on the breath, use your imagination to visualize it as white light entering and filling your lungs. The middle breath, which is called the absorption breath, is the spontaneous activity of all the elements in the air being absorbed and passed through to every cell in your body. With this occurrence, you visualize like a red flash of energy going through your body with the middle breath. Then using your imagination, you bring these 2 together to form what is called the ultimate healing breath, which goes out your nose as blue light. And you think of it going everywhere or to space. This is the code. White, red, blue. Inhale white light, fill your lungs. Energy breath, absorption breath, red light to every cell in your body, even your hair. Exhale a combination of these 2 out your nose as a blue light healing breath available to everyone, to space. But this prana yoga technique, which is designed primarily to bring your imagination and your focus together, you will notice that you are less engaged or distracted to the outer world activity. You are moving you into a state of calm abiding, of peace and tranquility. This is not the goal of shamanistic practices. It is the starting point. It is the springboard to calm all emotional afflictions and understand the importance of compassion for limitless sentient beings who are suffering. You can do it anywhere, anytime. I've experienced it underwater while snorkeling or diving and in dreams. Then you start your practice based on the concept of voidness, which is applied to the mind and the universe. And this concept is that everything is empty of its own nature. The simplicity of that is space itself. Without it, nothing exists. And that helps you to understand why it is the foot of meditation. And so we take the focus off of the breath and invent this voidness by combining the code of the white, red, and blue light into a single reference point in the center of our chest, creating a very powerful energy center which connects to the infinite light of space as it exists throughout the boundless fabric of space. So you have this tiny, tiny point of energy or light, similar to an atom. And we know that light is not stationary, but totally interconnected. And so this becomes the basis for the practices of shamanistic methods of this tradition. Hold yourself at that point in your heart chakra and relax. Without having to meditate. Just connect or ponder space. And the light force it creates for all of us. Then bringing your imagination to that point, expand it in size to create a small, clear, light sphere of pure energy. And this is how we enter from the all-pervasive state into our universe, our universal situation, our three-dimensional world. Then keeping your focus and imagination together, expand that sphere until it creates one of the 5 symbols of the 5 elements. Each has its own geometric form and color code. Tonight we're going to use the energy of radiation or fire. Its color code is a 4-sided pyramid with a base about the size of your thumbnail. So as you expand that 3-dimensional sphere, it evolves into this symbol of fire. And you can see it clearly in your heart center, 3-dimensionally. Then imagine it to move out in front of your chest and up before your eyes about 2 feet in front. Then using this symbol for healing, imagine it to grow in size until it creates a large room-like pyramid that you can see yourself sitting inside, just as you are. Receiving the full life force healing energy of all the elements, but primarily warmth, radiation, like from the sun. Then keeping your focus and imagination together, share it by expanding it in size to completely enclose, for us, this island of Kauai and surrounding ocean inside. And those watching the city or town or a large area of where they live. The next step is to imagine it to grow in size to completely enclose Mother Earth, including her atmosphere. Applying it to the infinite sentient beings that live here. Its healing energy, like the sun. Then expand it in size to completely enclose our galaxy, our solar system, with all the planets and the sun inside. Then visualize it to completely expand to completely enclose a spiral disc-shaped galaxy. A 100,000 light years in diameter. Then move beyond the limits of your conceptual mind by blending it with the infinite light of boundless space. And as you did with the point in your heart chakra, relax. No meditation. Simply keep to the present moment. Contemplate or ponder boundless space, voidness, return from that dimension with your imagination and again invent the healing symbol of the red pyramid to enclose the galaxy. Condense it in size to just enclosing the solar system. Shrink it to just enclosing Mother Earth. Then the island or town or area where you live inside. Then all of that energy you have been programming into your body sitting inside this symbol of the element of radiation. To end your practice, bring it to its original small size in front of your eyes, arm's length in front. Then the chest level and into your heart energy center, chakra. Shrink it to the small sphere and continue shrinking until it again becomes a particle of energy similar to an atom, connecting with the entire energy of boundless space. Relax. Microcosm, macrocosm, equal. Stay present. And refine the state of presence to the timeless moment. This meditation, or something like it, has been used by all the tribes of the planet for thousands and thousands of years to heal and to survive. Take a break by bringing your awareness to in front of you and expand it into your area of practice. This one practice is totally shamanistic. Culturally, the Chinese, Indian, Tibetan have the biggest handle on it, but all the tribes of the planet, like here in Hawaii, use it. I learned the 5 elements meditation in the Tahitian tradition, which was a group of boaters that came to Hawaii about 800 years ago after the Polynesians had settled. But there are 2 forms. There's the female and the male form of the elemental energy when it is applied culturally. And there's a reason for it, because that's the way we are. Individually, we have this dichotomy in our brain, and individually, men and women cohabitate. The animal world, same. Spirit world, same. Okay? Yes, we have all these gender identifications that are arising in our present situation on the planet. But basically, we're male and female. Now, how do you use this with massage? How do you use this with acupuncture? How do you use this with dance? I mentioned the hula I learned from the Tahitian woman hula, a kahuna. She was a kahuna. Is according to your condition. What's going on with you physically? What's going on with you mentally? What's going on with you emotionally? And all that, what's going on, is the spiritual. Because that's where you're going. This physical situation is very, very temporary, even in the highest realm, celestial realm. They have to leave. They can't stay there. All energy changes. You know, we're told that things are permanent. That's not true. Nothing's permanent. No such thing. Seasons, we have 4 seasons. Night and day. Night changes into day. Everything works out. So when we apply this to the emotional program, now we've opened a can of worms. That causes pain inside. Infinite pain inside. Or infinite sensation. And so we keep the same color code of the elements regarding whichever one you use. This meditation we just did, you would apply that color code and that symbol, exactly the same method. In other words, you start with the breath, 3 lights, bring it into the point in the heart center, then you go outside, then establish the symbol and spread it. So if I use this six-sided yellow geometric form, that's for the earth element. But if it applied to healing, like I mentioned, acupuncture, acupressure, massage, and so forth, medicinal remedies, all of that, then you want to modify it. Water element, a blue sphere. We're the water planet. So that's kind of obvious. The pyramid's been around for thousands and thousands of years and used for power, equal to the power of the sun. But in our own situation, warm. Or now we're in an extremely hot situation, cooling. Air element, half sphere of green light, like a bowl with the lid up. And the space element, like we started our practice with white light, a white sphere. That's it. That's as simple as you get. And cross-culturally, that's the way it's introduced, mostly by women. Medicine women. Starts with that. Now, when you move into the emotional program, now you need the Lama. And it just so happens we're on a patriarchal planet. It's just evolved that way for 8 billion. And these guys think they know everything and want to run the show. Okay, religiously, corporately, socially, and so forth. They got a control group. But for us, the masculine is the method of dealing with, of interacting with the feminine. And they're both the same color code. If I hold this up to the light, they both unite. Here's this plastic sheet. That's where we invented this in the 90s. How do you get these concepts across so a child can understand? Because we teach this in grade school. I've taught it in the universities, which is much easier. But what do we start with? What emotion do you want to start with? What is your biggest hang-up? This is why we meditate, so you can look inside and find what you're doing to cause yourself problems. Then, when you've located that, start to apply the antidote. And for us, it's the deity, the mind of the Lama, who knows these and how to deal with it. And the Lama can be a man or woman, but this individual has been trained extensively, night and day for 40 months. How to present this according to the makeup of each and every one. And it's not a big deal. You know, you don't have to go to the university and go through 8, 10, 12 years of psychiatry and psychology. Yes, there's a Buddhist university in Boulder, Colorado that's based on psychiatry. But that was one Lama's way of presenting it culturally to us Americans. Trungpa? Trungpa. Rinpoche. It's called Rinpoche. Rinpoche is a term applied to very well educated Lamas. When they say Rinpoche. The ones that have been around for many, many lives. Because Lamas don't go away. I'm not going to heaven. I'm not going to hell. I'm not going to be a hungry ghost, deprived spirit. I agree with you. I'm not going to be a cockroach. And when I come back to the human condition from now on, it's only to make myself available to whoever might be interested in this mind training system. So when we use the Tara, it's a blend of the 5 elements primarily. Oh, But for women, it's especially useful because women teach women better than men teach men. So we have a women's program using the Tara principle, which is this symbol over here on the left side of the Buddha. Of her, first of all, being the five elements. Because it's applying to women, that's what women are made of, the five elements. Right? But the Tara can be presented green, blue, white, yellow, or red, according to the code of the elemental nature. But that means two things. One, she's bringing in that elemental energy for healing. And number two, not just for the body, but for the mental process that causes the judgment call for emotions to arise. And that takes skillful means. That's what we call it. So Tara, skillful means, whatever color code, specifically has a creation sound. And the creation sound is based on space, which includes everything. That's where voidness comes from. And it's Tom. Tom. Easy, you know? But this Tom is all the five elements in one universally, but timelessly too. No beginning, middle, or end. And it's the vibration of prana energy, which is what air is all about, keeping you alive. And if you don't breathe properly, you've got a big problem. You know, I used to be with a rebirthing group of women on Maui that breathe shallowly to cause this experience of recalling rebirth of previous birth. But that's not healthy. And then some people, they breathe way down here all the time, not using the diaphragm, for instance. There's special effect. But when you use this sound Tom, this is what it looks like in your heart chakra. And this is the vibratory code for bringing everything that exists into the practice and applying it to everyone who exists in time, conditioning. And then we apply a mantra which circles this Tom when you say it. But this mantra comes because you're including everybody in the application of this sound. And then, what are you going to do with your body? So that takes care of the mental process of the emotion. This takes care of the application that this is for everybody. So that takes the I, me, mine out of the movie. And you start by projecting this to your own mother, because she created you. Nobody else created you. Okay? That's a fact. Now, ultimately or relatively, we have different ideas about it. But my mother never let me forget that she created. She was a great mother. But when you apply this to your mother, then you project that mother to your father, because he had a hand in it, and all your relatives, because they conditioned you to the way you are. That's what makes us all different. We all have more outer conditioning relationship. Then you start to project it to all the humans on this planet as your life support. Why? Because they are. Good or bad, don't judge. Then you project it to all the animals in the ocean, on the land, and in your body. Your body has infinite animals. They're called parasites. And you want those to be in harmony with your body. So when you've got problems, not enough to get problems. But the outer world, too, you want the same harmony. Now you've got all the animals and all the humans in your mind as a star. It's called a mandala. You're creating a mental mandala, spiritually. Now comes the key of shamanism. Include the spirit, all the spirit. Because if you only conclude one or two, you're in big trouble. Because they have a problem. Not just anger, but jealousy. Okay? And they interact with us even though we can't see them. With those emotional conflicts working. And then when you get to the arrogant ones or the war gods, it gets a little more, even more complicated. So all of them are Tara. That is the word spirituality. If you say, what is spirituality? No matter what religion you ask, it's about involvement with spirit. Well, in shamanistic Lamaism, it's only about spirit. Yes, we include the animals and humans, but they're all inhabited by spirits too. So this mandala of you thinking that everybody is Tara makes you see the world as illusory, which is what you're going to do in your next life anyway. It's all an illusion. It's all made of light, and it's always changing, moment to moment, changing. You know, every 7 years you got a whole new body. Every atom in your body is replaced itself. Wow. Recycling is in it. So that's this mantra. And the mantra is very simple. Om, everything arises in time. Tara, wisdom mother, is the universal principle. Tutari means swiftly accomplishing healing and removing all disease, obstacles. Om Tara Tutari. Ture means antidote in place. Transform all negative to positive. All disease to good health. However you want to think of it, whatever it is for you individually, or in your relationship, we all have those too. Then Soha, those two words in Sanskrit are usually attached to mantras. Swaha in India means it's this energy program that you are inventing in your mind, adopting for mind training, is timeless. It's always expanding. That's what the universe is doing. And the scientists say we're rapidly expanding. Well, what happens after a while in this expansion program, the end result is nothing whatsoever. Okay, so we'll leave this in place and we'll do the practice. Now, how do you visualize yourself? Well, pick a color code. We're going to use green tonight. And if you want to know the results of this practice, the first three are compassion, power, and insight. Bliss. But actually, in the Tara, five Taras, there are 21 qualities that we all have that are being developed simultaneously. I'll just run through a few. Swift protection is one of them. Creative wisdom, not just wisdom, but how to use it. You have this insight into everything being illusory. How do you use that? Because your next breath, you might need to use that. Because it might not come. Impeccable virtue means no more harm to yourself, others, or the environment. None. Okay. There's 21 of them. And I've been doing this for 42 years, and I started retiring. That was my first practice.
You still do Tara like during the day?
And I was a gardener farmer, so green Tara was obviously the one I picked. And she worked me to the max. Okay, back straight, eyes in front.
Is that what you do, Mark? Green Tara?
One opinion.
Breathe. Inhale the three lights this way. Imagine the white light of your inhale filling your lungs with this vibratory sound, Om. The red light energy pervading your body, as that takes place, you hear the sound, Ah. And then for the outer energy expansion from your exhale, blue light to space, you hear the sound of total healing energy, Om. Inhale white light, Om. Energy patterning through your body is red light, Ah. Both together out the nose, blue light to space, Om. Then as before with the prana yoga practice, you collect the three lights and the three sounds. All of that energy by taking your focus off your breath and create the particle centered in your heart chakra, the source of infinite compassion and loving kindness for others. Rest for a few moments, focusing on that particle similar to an atom, connecting to the totality of space. This will be your practice field. Then focusing on the particle, expand it with your imagination into a small clear light sphere. Keep expanding until it creates a five-colored sphere the size of your thumbnail in your heart center, heart chakra center. Inside this five-colored sphere, imagine the seed-soluble Tom in green light, but three-dimensional, give it thickness. Then as soon as the Tom appears, you think of your root lama as Tara in front of you, as a symbol of all the lamas, of all the traditions of Tara. Because they all have done this for 26,000 years. Just in India and Tibet, 2,600 years. Take all that energy into the Tom, as represented by your Lama in front, he or she, and see the transmission as white light coming from the Lama's head into your head. To empower your body and cause the illusory body of Tara to function in your practice. Then red light from the Lama's throat is the speech empowerment, so that the power of the mantra and the seed salvo change the patterning inside and outside to everyone's benefit. Then blue light from the Lama's heart center in front is the wisdom transmission into your heart center, so you understand this reality to be universally appropriate. Then the Lama, as a representative, blends into you, and you become, in this case, the color code is green, Tara. Young, beautiful, healthy, smiling, with 3 eyes, the inward-looking eye in the forehead, dressed in 5 colors of silks representing the 5 elements, and 6 types of jewelry representing the 6 bodhisattva disciplines. The right hand is palm outward in the gesture of giving. And the left hand, thumb, and ring finger hold the stem of a lotus that blooms by her left ear, symbolizing the power of the speech of mantra. The right leg is extended, ready to go into action, and the left leg is drawn in a meditation posture. She's sitting on a white moon disk and an orange sun disk on a 32-petal lotus flower in space. Then you project this 3D hologram symbol of the Bodhisattva Tara to your mother. She's sitting in front of you, life-size, facing you as the symbol. Then to your father and all your relatives, friends, lovers, enemies, pets, every being you have karma with, as Tara. And the whole human race and all the animals in the ocean and on the land as the symbol. Then you include the infinite spirits which inhabit our entire universe. With your mind filled with these taras, the mantra appears. The heart mantra circles the green tom inside the 5-colored sphere in your heart center, arranged with the Om in front. Om Tara, Tu Tare, Tu Re, So Ha. So these sounds, vibrations, circle inside the sphere in your heart center, the tom, the creation sound. Om Tara, Tu Tare, Tu Re, So Ha. 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 Om Tara, Tu Tare, Om Tara 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 Om Tara 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 Om Tara 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 Om Tara Tara. What is this mantra? Energy. What is the Om? Similar to the inhale that keeps you alive, but now you're inhaling clarity. Ha, the end sound, is the wisdom sound of power. But this is effective. And then the Tara, Tutare, True Ray is the application of the practice to the totality of everyone in the universe coming to maturity. Om Tara Tara Ture Soha. Om Tara Tara Ture Soha. Om Tara Tara Ture Soha. Om Tara Tara Om Tara Soha. Om Tara Soha. Om Tara Soha. So you're doing three things simultaneously. Creating voidness with the tongue, the universal nature of light. The mantra sound is the power of the mandala you created in your mind, that this healing goes to every being, animal, human, and spirit. All suffering removed, happiness and bliss replaced. Tom, mantra, all beings is Tara, same as you, equal. That's the practice. If you see any part of this while you're making this mantra vibration with your speech, that's the practice. Om Tara Tara Ture Soha. 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 Om Tara Ture Soha. Om Tara 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 Tara Ture Soha. Infinite generosity is applied with skillful means, using the C-syllable of the mantra and creating a mandala in your mind, applied universally to everyone. Using this tantra practice causes the transformation of concepts in your mind and the tendency to act harmfully toward yourself, others, and the environment. That's the benefit. Om Tare Tu, Tare Tu, Re Su. Om Tare Tu, Tare Tu, Re Su. Om Tare Tu, Tare Tu, Re Su. Om Tare Tu, Re Su. And louder. Om Tare Tu, Tare Tu, Re Su. Om Tare Tu, Tare Tu, Re Su. Inside. Om Tare Tu, Re Su. Om outing. Om Tare Tu, Tare Tu, Re Su. Om Tare Tu, Tare Tu, Re Su. Om Tare Tu, Tare Tu, Re Su. Om Tare Tu, everybody time. Om Tare Tu, Tare Tu, Re Su. Om Tare Tu, Tare Tu, Re Su. You is done. Om Tare Tu, Tare Tu, Re Su. Om and one round of taras on the mountain. Om Tara Tu Tara Tu is 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 This is called the creation phase of tantric practice to benefit limitless sentient beings, reduce their suffering, and introduce them to their natural mind, their non-judgmental mind. And since everything is an illusion, and based on this principle, your practice is all about illusory awareness. You move into the accomplishment stage of the practice. And at this point, you imagine the universe filled with these angels of Tara, Bodhisattva, however you want to think about them. Limitless spirits, limitless animals, limitless humans on planets everywhere. And bring them all into you, either in the snap of a finger or gradually like rain into a lake. Streaming into you from every direction, you as the central Tara symbol. Accomplishing this, you disappear your illusory body into the heart mantra, the code of these 10 symbols surrounding the tongue. Then the mantra you visualize inside the 5-color sphere, starting with Om. Each symbol, one by one, disappears into the tongue, the green tongue. It, circled by a 5-color sphere of light, which is the universe of the 5 elements and the antidotes to the emotional afflictions, merges into space, disappears. Or you could take that and disappear into the Tigui point, reference point in your heart chakra of infinite space. Or you could just disappear into infinite light. Then without moving, keep to the present moment of bliss. No drama. No meditation. No judgment. And without blocking anything, allow the thought processes to arise just as they do. And all sensations of the body arise and disappear. Either one by one or all at once. You're not attached to any of them. Simply stay present and alert. This is called the ultimate stage of awareness itself. And when you're in this accomplishment stage, the mind, which is the thinker of all things, becomes the mental Nirmanakaya, the vehicle of the teacher. If you recognize it, it is the 5 antidotes to the 5 emotional affliction groups. We call it the 5 Dhyana Buddhas. When your mind is cognizant, simply look into the essence of cognizance itself. This is called the Maha Mudra of cognizant emptiness, like space. When your mind is blissful without drama and judgment, look into the essence of this bliss. That is the Dzogchen, or mind of blissful emptiness. When your mind is empty, look into the natural face of this emptiness, like space. This is the great middle path of awareness emptiness. When your mind is afraid or fearful, look into the essence of that which is afraid. That is the sacred teaching of cutting ego fixation. When your mind is empty of all concreteness and recognizes the illusory nature of everything, that is the empty mind transcendent knowledge. Look into your mind, whether you walk, or whether you sit, whether you sleep, or whether you die. This is the purpose of this path of skillful means using Tara. Then, for post-meditational practice dealing with spirits, animals, and humans, be the Tara and sound the mantra. Equalize everything and all vibrations and sound. Om Tara, Tu Tara, Tu Re So Hum. Om Tara, Tu Tara, Tu Re So Hum. Om Tara, Tu Tara, Tu Re So Hum. From your heart. Everything that you do in these methods, take them to heart. And project everything that you think in your heart chakra with loving kindness and altruistic compassion. Om Tara, Tu Tara, Tu Re So Hum. 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 Now to sum up the wisdom development of this skillful means practice of wisdom using the symbol Tara, whatever color code you feel is appropriate, white, red, blue, and green, or yellow. Your body, speech, and mind is being transformed into wisdom, altruistic compassion. Wisdom is called insight. And power, which means with the wish-fulfilling effect. So since it is a wish-fulfilling jewel, this practice, be careful of what you wish for. Spontaneously, besides the ones I mentioned, the qualities of protection, creative wisdom, and impeccable virtue, this is what develops Tara. Becomes all victorious, accomplishing what is appropriate. Tara is based on sublime intelligence, recognizing your sublime tendencies that are harmful that you carried forth from previous lives. Tara is worthy of honor as she is all-inclusive, recognizing everybody to be equal. Tara is invincible courage by abandoning fear and superstition. Tara destroys negativity because it is not appropriate. Tara is true refuge because she includes all sources of refuge. The Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, the Lama, the deities, and the protectors Dakini. Tara is joy and laughter because she is fun. Tara is distributor of wealth because she represents healing and wealth as appropriate. Tara is auspicious beauty because of your imagination. Tara is irresistible truth because you're applying true awareness to the relative and absolute truth of everything. Tara is precious, ferocious compassion because no one is left out. Tara is serene peace, which is the base of all meditative accomplishment. Tara destroys attachment because it's absolutely worthless. Tara is triumphant joy because of her accomplishment. Tara is the transformer of all poison or obstacles because they are not conducive to happiness. Tara is the remover of sorrow, the absolute opposite of happiness. Tara is radiant health, the purpose of all tantra and sutra practice. Tara is complete enlightenment because ultimate awareness is Buddha nature. These are the 21 qualities of Tara. And all sentient beings in your mandala, infinite in number, have these qualities. Finish tonight's practice with refuge. Oh, one more application. Since you are going to pass into the next life soon, in a matter of weeks, months, years, or whatever, when you do, the force of your compassion for all sentient beings is called one of two things to keep in mind. The second one is that everything is an illusion and therefore real. Like water in the desert. It's there, but it's not there. Apply that to everything you think, say, and do. The force of these two is called the two bodhicittas. Keep them always in mind. The force of familiarization with this is to maintain mindfulness and awareness by keeping your practice ongoing. The force of virtuous deeds are the result of these two bodhicittas. The force of repudiating thoughts as being real is the antidote to ego cherishing. The force of aspiration is to always dedicate the virtue of these practices to everyone. Having said that, we'll enter into space with this dedication prayer. Communicated to the Spirit. Devadi Nirdudam, Chadya Chapo Jujane, Jova Chinking Maluka, Dei Sam Sopashu, Sajay Kusum Dempai Jimlatam, Choni Maker Dempai Jimlatam, Gendu Niche Dumpai Jimlaki, Sridhar Moman, True Far Shu. By this virtue of having realized Mahamudra, may I quickly establish all beings without exception in that state. Through the blessing of the Buddhas who obtained the three bodies, and through the blessing of the unchanging truth of the Dharma, and by the blessing of the unwavering aspirations of the Sangha, may this dedication prayer be fulfilled, and may all your appropriate wishes be accomplished. May all the lamas have long life, good health, happiness, and prosperity, and may all their wishes be fulfilled. On this planet, may all beings have happiness, removed from suffering, establishing bliss and equanimity. And we say in Hawaiian, mahalo, thank you. In Tibetan, duchi che.
Thank you, thank you.